So we have Jag Sidhu, who is actually the CTO of Blockchain Foundry and actually the core developer of Syscoin with us. And we also have Bradley Stevenson, which also is Syscoin Foundation member with us for today's AMA. And we uploaded a couple of questions. I requested on the tweets we made. I think on my Shifu Wealth account, I suggested people drop in questions ahead of the AMA session. So we are going to begin with those questions for us. So they are going to answer the questions we have available regarding Syscoin. So I'm going to throw in out the questions to you guys, and so you guys can pick the answers for whosoever those who are listening and everyone connected. So welcome once again, guys. The first question we have here is if you believe there are gaps and issues in the present blockchain protocols that Syscoin can fill those gaps, they can solve this problem. What are those gaps and issues, and how does Syscoin solve the problems and the gaps and issues that are different, that are in other blockchain protocols, which makes Syscoin a bit better? What makes Syscoin unique and better than others? Because any other blockchain could just come up and they claim to be better, they seem to be different. So what makes Syscoin unique? That is the first question, guys.
Yeah, so I think I can take that one well. So I'll start out kind of with an ELI 5 sort of elevator pitch for Syscoin, which I really like giving this in an AMA format because otherwise it's like dropping a bomb and walking off, right? So people who understand blockchain to some degree, at least, like some modicum, generally have questions after the ELI 5. So I'll elaborate just a little bit. But what I like to say is, wouldn't it be great if Bitcoin's network, its proven decentralization and security, could secure everything that you can do on Ethereum? And then on top of that, those Ethereum capabilities could scale to metaverses, smart cities, and to a growing world population. And on top of that, if projects and businesses, enterprises that deploy on this coordinated platform, if they could have total control over how they interact with their users as far as fees, whether they want to operate without fees entirely incurred on the part of the user, or if they want to accept specific tokens for the services, they would have the power to do that. So, there's a lot more I could say, but I think that's a pretty succinct pitch. And the reality is that's quickly becoming the case with Syscoin. So I know to some people it might seem outlandish, but I think there's some catching up to do in those cases with blockchain technology and really where we're heading. Academia has been involved in a lot of research the past several years. In particular, there have been a lot of cryptographic advancements, particularly in the area of ZK rollups. And that's a specific skill set, that research that goes on, right? It's very important. On the other hand, there's another skill set that's equally important, and that's really where Syscoin comes in, right? So what we do is we have a bird's eye view, and really the ability to see the gestalt, if you will, the whole picture of the blockchain industry, and to see where these new advancements really fit in and fit together, and how they can fit together to create really helpful characteristics and capabilities for blockchain that otherwise, if these advancements were just kind of separate on their own, that wouldn't exist. So what I like to tell people is, imagine, Syscoin, like if you want to have a visual of Syscoin, imagine it as a sphere, a big sphere. And inside of that sphere are two smaller spheres. One of those is Bitcoin, which is like the Bitcoin model, I should say, which is like the gold standard of simple value transfer and decentralized security. The other sphere is Ethereum, which is the gold standard for decentralized computation. And how those relate to each other inside of this bigger sphere, this encompassing sphere called Syscoin, is that Syscoin is a system of systems. And through protocol adaptation, we're able to leave those gold standards inside of Syscoin intact and not tampered with in such a way where, we don't want to create new security assumptions. We want to maintain separation of technical concerns, things like that. But through protocol adaptation, we're able to secure smart contracts with Bitcoin merge mined proof of work, and on top of that, give these users of smart contracts and a utility-based economy based on EIP 1559, which is Ethereum's economic model, and implement ZK rollups. Also, give users the ability to take advantage of simple value transfer with Lightning networks and things like that, and also solve some problems for proof of work as far as finality. So a big problem with DeFi recently that's been coming up more and more are MEV attacks. So we've introduced a way to establish finality on every block using proof of work on our network because of some unique characteristics our network has. So we can essentially protect DeFi users from MEV attacks on the layer 1. And we've spent a lot of time making sure that we have an ideal layer 1. That's, there's that old parable, like you don't want to build your house on a foundation of sand, right? It's not a good idea. Yeah. So yeah, so with ZK rollups, and some of these new advancements that have happened within academic spheres, what's really needed is an incredibly secure layer 1 that has innovations that solve problems that secure layer 1s have faced in the past. And then all the infinite scaling and everything should be happening on ZK rollups. And that's essentially how our roadmap looks.
Yeah. When I think of Syscoin, what I think it's when just basically what you're saying, when we combine Bitcoin being referred to as the gold of cryptocurrencies, and then Ethereum as the silver of cryptocurrency, we could say Syscoin is the diamond, or if there's a word to use to combine what the specific qualities of gold and the qualities of silver, that is what we could use combined together in Syscoin. It's mind blowing. So let's go over to the next question. A project that has survived since 2010 speaks of volume. How did Syscoin survive the different crypto seasons and trends? What challenges did you encounter, and how have you been able to scale up to this very day?
Yeah, so I'll cover this briefly, and then maybe Jag can give some input too. We've always operated lean and mean with Syscoin. We haven't had, we haven't really pulled and asked for our community to provide a lot of resources, marketing wise and things like that, as far as funds. So we've really exercised ourselves in this industry and accomplished a lot on very little. So we're very efficient in how we operate. And, we've stayed relevant and, by, of course, some marketing, we do have marketing, but it's very efficient. And that's, of course, improving drastically now because we do have funds. Our community voted to fund the Syscoin Foundation nonprofit treasury for some very specific purposes. And that's going to be very helpful. We can get into that later if someone asks about it. But, we have a community that's very aware of blockchain, very knowledgeable, and we've always spent a lot of time educating our community and making them aware of our vision and really the real value proposition of our long range vision. And typically when people come on board and sort of join the Syscoin community, they're there for a long time, because they took the time to understand, and once it finally dawns on them, like it's forever, basically.
Okay, that's cool. And we have here totally equation from someone totally BTC or so. So I would want to hear about more details about all the Syscoin partnerships, the NEVM launch, and smart contracts. So I think that's what the person is saying here. He wants to hear about what are the current Syscoin partnerships going on the NEVM launch. I think that should be 6 days ahead, if I'm not mistaken, or so 5 days from now. So we want to hear about that.
Yeah, I'll let Jag take that one.
Yeah, thanks. So we've been working on a lot of integration partnerships, equalizers. One we had a call today with, they're partnered for doing flash loans. But all of our partnerships are geared towards the layer 2, the ZK rollups. So most of the people are still, the projects are unfamiliar with the technology. So some of it is educating and some of it is technical talks about how we can plug in existing smart contracts or projects in the ZK rollup sphere of ecosystem. So bridging is some stuff we're looking at and partnering with people to bridge assets from Ethereum and Phantom and BSC and these chains, so volume can come in. There's DAOs, like gold standard DAO. We're kind of advising from the foundation on how to build that on a ZK rollup. And it's interesting you said Ethereum and Bitcoin was a gold and silver respectively, but that's how we're this gold standard DAO we're looking at exactly in that way. That DAO is like the Olympus. There's going to be other projects similarly, but we're really big with this one. You know how it works is it's an Olympus DAO type of thing, but instead of the dollar, it's using a fractional index of gold, Bitcoin and Ethereum. So like that's like a ETF, like you know how you have ETFs in the stock market, you'd have an ETF, smart contract ETF of Bitcoin, Ethereum put together. That's a gold standard of crypto instead of the dollar. And then inside of the system, there's gold and silver bonds. So you get the best of gold, silver, and then you get the best of crypto, gold, silver, and you put them together and you have a DAO. And that DAO represents Federal Reserve on the blockchain without central issuers. So these are the sorts of things. Go ahead.
So that is this means you guys are going to be delivering on the OHM. There's so much hype regarding OHM forks and Olympus DAO, such projects. So that means we're going to be having a DAO on Syscoin, right?
Yeah, and it's like not going to be just a fork. It is essentially an innovation on top of what Olympus. We spoke to the Olympus team, and we're good friends with them, and we want to integrate with them. I think one of the things that we're looking at with Olympus is potentially having them running on our layer 2 ZK rollups, like having liquidity sharing and pooling across both Ethereum chains and Syscoin chains. So they are going to have to move towards a layer 2 with OHM v2. They're going to become full compliant, full DAO, right? All the voting will happen on chain. Right now, it's a multi-sig treasury, but in v2, which they're going to announce fairly soon, all the voting will be on chain. Now they can't do that on layer 1. Ethereum gas fees are too high to vote, and so this will be on a layer 2. And one of the layer 2s they're looking at is the ZK rollups, right? And so that will play nicely in our favor. As you know, when we launch layer 2s, we'll be able to cross liquidity across chains and have their contracts living on Syscoin, living on Ethereum. But you know, the systems can cooperate. But the DAO that with the gold standard one that we were saying is kind of like Olympus, but with the gold standards of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and gold, silver, and potentially other precious metals as the stores of value that create the system, rather than dollars and you know, anything denominated in dollars.
Okay, we have a question here that says based on the roadmap that the NEVM mainnet launches, which is on the 6th of this month. However, what makes the NEVM unique and better than the EVM? So the network enhanced virtual machine, what makes it better than the Ethereum virtual machine? What makes it better than the other?
So technically, the code is the way that it's structured is there's a Syscoin chain, which is running and being mined by Bitcoin miners, right? So Bitcoin mining pools, F2 pool, via BTC, some of these bigger pools in Bitcoin, they're mining Bitcoin blocks, but they're also mining Syscoin blocks at the same time with the same power. So they're not using any extra power to mine Syscoin. It's the same power from Bitcoin, but also mining multiple chains. So that chain today is functional, and it's just a Syscoin with assets on top. And then inside of that node, we actually have a Geth node, the Go Ethereum node that's running separate, and they communicate using a ZMQ socket library. So there's a communication happening between the Syscoin node and the Geth node, and the Go Ethereum node essentially is just like Ethereum. Ethereum runs on Go Ethereum as well. Most nodes, I think maybe 75% of the nodes are Go Ethereum in Ethereum. So we run that node, but we just simply change we change how the blocks are formed. So the Syscoin node gets created from Bitcoin, and those blocks are pushed down to the Geth node, and the Go Ethereum node cannot form any blocks with its own work. So the work has to happen through Syscoin. So technically, it's just like Ethereum, except the consensus and the security is pulled up from the Bitcoin network. So that's the network enhanced means it's the security is borrowed from Bitcoin, but everything else remains consistent. So there's no opcode changes, there's no consensus adjustments to make optimizations. All of that adds risk. If you add risk, then it's not the same as Ethereum, and it can break because there's been many hours spent on that, right? So we keep it consistent.
Okay, so we have a developer asking. He said, "Can developers like myself now access your technology to build new projects?"
Yeah, because we remain consistent to the two gold standards, Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? If you're a developer on Bitcoin, you can do Taproot, Mast, Schnorr signatures, all that stuff that you can do on Bitcoin on Syscoin, but also do it at the asset layer on Syscoin. If you're a developer of Web3 and Solidity and all that stuff, you can also develop on the NEVM, right? And it's just like developing on BSC and AVA and FTM, all these blockchains that support EVM. They would go to MetaMask and they assign the provider, and now they're able to transact. And the tech stack, the truffles and Remix and all of those tools, they will also work because they talk over the Web3 protocol. So we fully support everything Ethereum is doing that way.
Okay. So, the next question here says we can't actually take. There's so many questions actually, and we can't take all of them, but it's because of the limited time we have. But I want to pick these that are actually most important. So yes, the question here is, we know Syscoin makes use of the Z-DAG protocol to settle a transaction even before it's confirmed. Could there be a scenario where after settling a transaction, it fails to confirm? If yes, is there a system in place to rebuild the transaction?
Yeah, so if Z-DAG essentially is just creating ordering in the mempool, right? And there's some probability that the transaction will confirm at some point. But there was also a check inside of the memory pool to make sure that if you have a Z-DAG transaction, you are not allowed to double spend. If you try to double spend, we will let the first one go through, meaning we will let the network know that there's a double spend happening, but anything subsequent we will block. And so the network will see there's a double spend. Now, whichever one gets to the miner first will end up winning, right? So if you do a transaction at the merchant level, This is on the Syscoin UTXO side, not on the EVM side, by the way. So these are just very simple payment transfers we're talking about. So you go and buy a coffee from the retail merchant, and you would send a Z-DAG transaction for, say, your USD stablecoin. As soon as you send that, the merchant would wait for 5 to 10 seconds to make sure that they waited enough time. If I try to double spend, the protocol, if you wait for 5 to 10 seconds, you will detect that double spend, because every node will propagate not only the first one, but the double spend as well. Because it's propagating the double spend, the merchant will be able to detect that and say, oh, you're trying to double spend. I'm not giving you the coffee because you're sending the money back to yourself.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So basically, the fact Bitcoin doesn't let you it doesn't let you pass out the double spends. So as soon as you spend the coin and you try to send it again, the nodes will block it. That's not what we want to do with this. We let the first one go through. So because we're letting the double spend go through, people can see and they can detect it and block it and stop it. And therefore, the first one that gets to the miner will be the one, the honest transaction, the first one you sent. And that's the one that gets mined. And if that doesn't get mined because there's not enough fees, it gets put back into the memory pool. At some point, it will get mined along with every other transaction.
Yeah, so basically it puts security into the hands of the people for a brief time, right? So there's a window of time there with a Z-DAG transaction where the merchant has, can make decisions at their discretion. They can say, I've got a long line here. I'm going to go ahead and consider these payments confirmed in 3 or 4 seconds, or they have the choice to just wait a little bit longer to be extra secure if they wish to be. So it's what's referred to as like an interactive payment solution.
Yeah.
Right. And if there's a large value transaction, like $1,000 or more, they can always wait for a confirmation as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, just from the questions I'm picking, that shows amongst us there are those who are developers, there are those who are builders, there are those who are marketers, and there are those who are just basically investors, and they are just buying into Syscoin and they are holding. They are just so we have various categories of people, and this session is actually designed to be able to accommodate each and every one of this category. So let's go over to those who are just investors and holders that I believe they would want to know about the roadmap of Syscoin currently. What should they be expecting in Syscoin project in December, in the new year 2022? Also, they want to know about the onboarding incentive program as well. So let us know about the onboarding incentive program, and also what is in stock for the project and the ecosystem beginning from the month of December to 2022.
Yeah, so what's going to come first here very quickly will be the rollout of our NEVM L1, which is security focused. That's essentially the strong foundation that we're going to build on top of with our L2 for smart contracts, which will come in the first quarter of 2022. So NEVM L1 will roll out on December 6th approximately. And our L2 with ZK rollups will come about planned for Q1 of 2022. And then you can expect Validium in Q3 of 2022. Yeah, as far as our TVL incentives, we as Syscoin Foundation, we have secured funds for our treasury that will enable us to incentivize projects to come on board. We haven't yet publicly announced exactly what those incentives are, but they're coming. That announcement is coming, but we have been sharing it with a lot of projects on a one-to-one basis, so that they see and realize what's available to them. We've had a lot of positive response from that. So expect that as well. And Jag, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say like from the blockchain foundry side, there's a lot of stuff happening. And I think like maybe people aren't really understanding what blockchain foundry is, but it's in 2017, a lot of the founders of Syscoin formed. They got publicly funded, and we went on the Canadian Securities Exchange, so we're on the stock market, trading under the blockchain foundry company. BCFN is the ticker. We are focused on productization. So if you think about Ethereum, you have consensus, and Bitcoin has Blockstream. And Syscoin, you have Blockchain Foundry, which is like a for-profit company where shareholders want to see revenue. We build on, so we do the research of Syscoin, we do a pull request, and the foundation will accept the pull request if it's beneficial to the protocol. But on the tech stack, we will build products. One of the products that we look to develop once ZK rollups start to get going is compliant DeFi, right? This is one thing that we see coming up, just as we saw ZK rollups happening as a way to scale the industry. The next big thing is from the regulators, they're going to enforce regulated DeFi. Now, that's not possible today, but we're going to make it possible. So this means that the SEC and these other regulators are going to say, if you want to, as a business, do DeFi, or as a business do NFT or DAOs, you have to be on regulated DeFi, which means you have to do counterparty checks and all that stuff. And it's not for everybody. Other people in Africa, India, they may not want the regulated DeFi, so they'll be on the decentralized DeFi that we'll have on Syscoin. But for businesses, enterprises that don't want to get shut down with stable coins that are regulated, they're using, they will be on regulated DeFi. And we will be able to do a regulated DeFi roll up, which means all the brokers, all the wallets that want to do DEXs inside of them, they don't want to get licenses for alternative trading systems and be labeled as a securities broker. They can do non-compliant trading through a DEX as long as KYC is checked. And this is where regulated DeFi comes in. So we handle all of that. At the back end, we would enforce the KYC checks have been done through a digital identity check. And this is all very forward looking, but the regulated DeFi is a huge market, tapping into maybe a securities market as well. The securities STO market is $160 trillion market by 2030, and having the basis for a regulated DeFi and then security DeFi is just going to enable stock markets or any all of these securities today you see will be digitized and will become part of these DEXs and smart contracts and DeFi in the future.
I think the more I listen to the answers of the questions people are throwing out, it makes me understand and see how Syscoin is just so big that I think the best way to communicate Syscoin is in an AMA section like this. One can't actually just communicate Syscoin in just one sentence, and it's so massive, it's so futuristic, and therefore anyone who is involved in the Syscoin ecosystem is likened to anyone who was involved in Ethereum's ecosystem and also in BSC ecosystem in their early days before leading the trend. And this is amazing. This is an amazing one. So quickly over to the next section, which is actually going to be our final session. Anyone who wants to ask a question, you could just identify your mic, and I'm going to enable your mic. So it might just take one or two persons to be able to speak. Okay, JJ. I think I've omitted you, JJ. You can speak if you have a question for Jag.
Okay, hello. My question is like, is Syscoin open like for people to work with them? Like, are they open positions?
Yeah, we're an open community. Syscoin itself is actually an open source project, and we welcome participation, from anyone if they want to commit, if they want to provide pull requests or anything like that. If they're a developer, that's great. We also have a very active community. So jump into our Discord or our Telegram, and if you want to get involved in any way, shape, or form, and I'm sure there's somewhere where you will fit.
Okay. Okay. So another person. I don't think Sonsaru. I don't know if Sonsaru. Sonsaru, I think you want to. You can speak. I've unmuted you.
Okay, just I think I have just two questions. One, I came a bit late. Sorry about that, but I want to know: is there any plan for Syscoin to? Do they have a desk? If we don't have a desk platform, any plan? That's one. Two, I really want to thank you, Wealth Israel, for this AMA. because listening to the few points I came across that I met, this project is huge. Why is it not known? What's the issue? Is it that the team is working on a project, some products yet to be completed before they can actually embark on a massive marketing or what? Or why is it not known? From what I've heard, is huge. Is huge. So what's the issue?
Hey,
Yeah, yeah.
Bradley, maybe I'll take this because I gotta jump after this. After this, we have another call. But those are two really good questions. The first answer is we have two dexes. We have Pegasus, which is on layer 1. That's a dex that some of the foundation guys are working on. Well, the developers that we're working with through the foundation, they're a Brazilian development team. They're releasing Pegasus. Then on layer 2, we have the Mute AMM. That's what the first layer 2 ZK rollup based AMM. That will be another AMM. And I'm sure there's going to be more AMMs. There'll be aggregators as well. Like we know the Slingshot guys that can aggregate the liquidity across multiple dexes. So dexes are gonna be there. Point 2 is a good point because we've been developing since 2013. The massive marketing push is happening now as we speak. We're spending a lot of money on marketing on the NEVM and also on the ZK rollup stuff. So we purposefully held off because our roadmap was not complete. We always saw that we might need to change something because the landscape of crypto, especially scaling, was not figured out. Once we figured out the ZKP math, the ZK snarks, ZK starks, the zero knowledge proofs are coming and they will be efficient enough for us to use, we kind of went all in and we wrote that Medium post earlier in the year, last year, and we started designing our infrastructure thinking that Ethereum as it is can scale with ZK rollups and it doesn't need anything else. It needs full security and just zero knowledge proof rollups, and you can have a platform that is ideal, Bitcoin plus Ethereum. So we avoided marketing just because the platform wasn't ready. We have UTXO assets on Syscoin, but those are really, really not friendly. They're not gold standard and according to EVM. If Bitcoin Lightning Networks takes off and Twitter starts to integrate Lightning Networks and everyone starts to use it, and there's a whole bunch of development platforms that start to use it, we have that there, but we cannot really market that because there is no platforms that do that. The developers are all on Ethereum. So in order for us to market, we need to hit the developers by going after the Web3 platform. And that's why we decided we do the EVM and then go marketing. So since 2013 till now, we pretty much held off on marketing. But now that we are finishing our technical roadmap, we are starting to market just like every other platform.
Okay, so final words from you, Brad. I think we should be calling it over here, but we want to take final words from you, Brad, for the community and for those listening.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed participating in this AMA, and what Jag was saying earlier in regard to marketing, one of the things that we're doing is targeting specifically the best quality AMA communities that have a very good understanding and a very broad audience of clear thinkers. So that's why we're happy to be here. One thing that I'll leave you guys with is just to highlight the importance of our solution here. If you look at the grand scope of all the cryptographic advancements that have happened recently, it's going to be interesting to see where a lot of existing projects today go, like especially in regard to all the alternative smart chains for the most part, the alternatives to Ethereum, like your Avalanches, your Binance smart chains, and the others. See, all of those are sort of hard-coded as monolithic blockchains. They're not modular. And what they've done is they've, in the absence of cryptographic advancements for real scalability, they've tried to force layer 1 to scale to some degree by making sacrifices, security sacrifices, and making other changes that have veered away from Ethereum's gold standard of computation and Bitcoin's gold standard of security. So now that ZK rollups and other rollup advancements are emerging, and all of that user experience and essentially infinite scalability are going to be available now, where do those layer ones really fit? Because all they're doing is creating more risk. They might have a nice ecosystem with a lot of projects on them, but for the most part, they're all EVM compatible and they can launch on any EVM system such as Syscoin, right? So what will really be the distinguishing factor for those platforms? Where Syscoin has a very distinguishing factor is in our coordinated platform that integrates the best of Bitcoin and gives developers access to both evolutionary tracks, right? So your layer 2 Lightning Network stuff, and then your layer 1 ZK rollup stuff on the EVM side. And we see a future where Ethereum and Bitcoin are still very much, the powerhouses, right? So all of that computation, the computation advancements and the intellectual capital in Ethereum will ensure that it continues to be, a very strong force in the market. And the same can be said for Bitcoin and all the ways that it's great. And, Syscoin will bring all of those things together as a cohesive and synergistic whole to create possibilities for blockchain that otherwise would be impossible if we were simply just left with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thanks so much for the timeout, and it's been amazing. It's been lucrative. It's been educative for every one of us for today's session. So the session is actually recorded, so the record is going to be made available for those who listen all over again, and also it's actually going to be transcribed into notes for those who want to read through. There's so much about Syscoin, but one thing I believe is Syscoin is basically just like we say, every idea has its timing and has a season. So I would say Syscoin is an idea, though bettered many years ago, but its time has come, and we are seeing it with the movement so far from when I first recommended Syscoin for the community at I think 2 cents or 30 cents or so, and currently it got as high as 80 something cents. I believe this is going to do so way high and get to its space and position among the top 50 coins on CoinMarketCap as well. And it's a pleasure having Jag and also Brad with us tonight. Okay, guys, have a blessed time. See you all soon.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, guys.